We've been married for 5 years. We have a 4-year-old together, and she has 2 other kids from a previous marriage. They are preteens. About 2 months ago, we went to the mechanic's shop to get her car serviced, and she kept talking to the guy there and looking at him. I ended up talking to him too because I had a Raiders jersey on, and he said he was a big fan of the Raiders. Anyway, I work 10-hour days and she absolutely hates that, but she is a stay-at-home wife. I pay all the bills, so I have to be away. She was seeing this guy we met at the car shop every day I was at work behind my back. 3 weeks ago I came home and she wrote me a text saying she was gone, and she was in love with this guy, and she believed he was her soulmate. I did my research and the guy had no place to stay, so they all have been living in the car I paid for in different parks. You know what the sad part is? She left our 4-year-old behind and took the other 2 kids that are not mine. She has blocked me on everything. Family members have sent me posts of her saying how much happier she is now, and how in love with her sexy man she is. It hurts to the core. I can't eat, sleep, or function at work. Worse, my daughter cries every night. Thank God my sisters and mom have stepped up to take care of her while I work, and they watch her full-time on the weekend. It's like I'm numb and don't know what I did so wrong. I took care of her, loved her when she was sick, and loved her children. The worst thing she said I did was work too much, and that I didn't have time for her. Well, sorry, I'm the only one paying bills and it sucks so bad. The other worst part is last night, she had the cops beating on my door. When I opened up, it was her and the cops. They were escorting her in to get her things. I'm so glad our daughter was sleeping. She gathered up some more clothes and told me to toss the rest, and that she would never be back. I looked outside and the guy she was with was sitting in the passenger seat. I am beyond livid. Oh yeah, and she texted me this morning asking if I had gas money for her, and if I'd pay the car note. She said she would talk to me face to face, but only if I did that for her. I didn't respond. I am numb. Yes, I worked a lot. I'm sorry I didn't have time to take you to the movies or a special dinner, but we have never been hungry. We have a beautiful house, and I always gave her anything she asked for. Why not communicate so I could have worked on being a better husband and father? My wife is so beautiful. I thought I was lucky, but now I see the real her. Update. I met up with her at the gas station by the house. When she was crying on the voicemail, I gave in. Sorry, I'm only human. I do love her, but I am done with her now. When I got to the gas station, I was shocked to see her, as I think people are right that she is on drugs. My wife was already small, but she is bony now. She always used to dress beautifully, even when in casual clothes, but she was in literal sweatpant racks. I gave her $200 for food and gas. Her guy was in the car as well as my kids. I said, I will take the kids, please. They can go to school or your family can pick them up. She said no. She wanted her kids with her, that they were no longer any of my concern. This killed me inside, as I've been their dad for 5 years. They called me dad, and I love those kids with my heart and soul. She refused to say if they were in school. Don't worry. I called CPS today and left a voicemail. I said, you have another kid, remember? She said, yeah, I love her and miss her, but right now I do not want to be in her life, and she needs to respect that and get over it. She is better off with you. She literally said, I don't want to be in her life. I said, are you in love with that guy? She said yes, she was. She made it clear that she didn't want to talk about it. I said, oh, I wanted a divorce, and she said no, that she didn't want to discuss that either. She does not want to give me a divorce. Well, shocker, I am getting in contact with a lawyer. Then she said I must pay the car note on Friday. I said, nope, not going to happen, or your phone bill. She said he would pay her phone bill, but that I would pay my car note because it was my car. It is in my name though, so that will be a fight for me in the future. Whatever. Not arguing. Bye-bye. But the craziest thing was she said I love you loud as hell as I walked away. I didn't even turn around or say it back. That was it for me. Oh, my birthday is tomorrow, and I asked if I could take the kids out to eat with me. I plan on going to my favorite steakhouse with my daughter and family. I would love for them to come. She said absolutely not. So I said, are you really sleeping in parks and why? She got upset and said I needed to mind my business. So yeah, folks, thank you so much for all your advice. I was scared to call CPS, but I did it. I just feel like this is a long emotional battle that I am already drained of. Update. My wife showed up at the house demanding car payment money Friday night. I told her I was not paying it, and she said that she wanted to talk about coming back to me. I said, no, I do not want you here. Please leave. There is no car money. I am not paying it. She refused to leave and brought the kids into the house. I called the police and they came. She said it was her house and I told them the situation. They asked her to leave and she said, okay. She told me she would be filing for divorce on Monday. And I told her I already had a lawyer working on it as she was pulling out of the driveway. I saw a van at the end of the driveway and it was her guy waiting for her. Our daughter was not home on the weekend. She likes to stay with my mom, so I'm thankful she was not there to see the big drama. Not that her mom even asked about her or asked how she was. I told the cops my kids were living in her car, and they needed to go check the car because she had everything in the back seat as well as her dog living in the car. She lied and said they were living in a motel, and all of that stuff in her car was from her taking it from the house when she left. She went outside and talked to the cops. I'm so over the drama. When she came into the house, she was acting very weird. It was night and she had on sunglasses. I told her to take them off and it looked like she had a black eye. I asked her what happened and she said it was from lack of sleep. She looked a lot better than the last time I saw her though. Some note I did not pay the car payment. I feel guilty. I know people wanted me to report it stolen, but I feel like my kids are going through a very traumatic time. The principal of their school as well as CPS has all the information. I wouldn't mind taking the kids in and raising them myself, but I feel like right now they would be better off with her family as they are aware of the situation as well. So tonight I got a ding and it was her asking me to pay for medicine for my daughter because they were all coming down with COVID or the flu. I ignored it and I went back and forth about blocking her. For some reason I couldn't. My daughter called and she did sound stuffy, so I said, "Can we meet at CVS?" She said yes and we met up. I bought them some stuff. He was not with her. I also bought them some food. She said, "Can we talk?" I said no. As soon as I got back home, my son texted from her phone asking me if he could come to visit me next week. I said I really didn't know that he should be focused on school and that I would see them soon. This is very draining for me. I'm feeling like I might block her number for now, at least until I meet with my lawyer next week. I am feeling extremely guilty for not paying the car payment, but I'm standing my ground about it. Update. Well, she's back begging to come home. She said she was sorry and that she has broken up with the guy. She called me to pick our son up. He told me he was tired of sleeping in the car and he tried to run away. I told him he could come home. He's here now. She let him come. My daughter said she wanted to stay with her mom. Shortly after, I got a text saying she was sorry and that it was a bad decision. She said she has been alone this past week and she is talking about suicide, saying she is done with life. I told her she couldn't come here and that I was sorry that the guy was treating her badly today. I thought they were doing good and she said that I really didn't know her. She was having a nervous breakdown and mental issues. She didn't know what to do but run. Update. Well, my wife is still on the streets with this. My son was with me. He wanted to come home. He was tired of living on the streets, so he begged to come home. She agreed and I agreed. My daughter wanted to stay with her mom, but she decided last week to come home too. Well, she was home for all of 2 days. When she came home from school one day, she ran away. We found her underneath a bridge close to our house. She is going through mental issues and I'm trying to get her some help. I am filing for divorce and when I told my wife, she cried and told me that she was sad but she was in love with that guy. Fast forward to a few days ago. She called me crying saying this guy was acting up. He told her he felt like he was taking on too much with her, and that he needed to take a step back. He's only 24 years old and he said at first he felt the connection strongly but he just wanted to focus on himself. She called me crying and upset. She came and got the kids and all their clothes. She said she was going to LA to get into the homeless program there. I asked her not to take the kids and she said no. She wanted the kids with her and she thanked me for everything. She then asked if we could talk about us getting back together. I calmly told her that would not happen. She hurt me too bad and I couldn't just go back to the past. I forgive her but I am numb now. I just want a divorce and to raise the kids. I told her we could at least do that so they could be happy and we didn't have to be together to make that happen. She left the house and I got a call this morning. She said she was going to end herself today. She thanked me again and said she was done with living. Everyone had hurt her. She tried to make me feel guilty. I just called the cops and explained to them she had my kids and threatened to harm herself. I don't know where she is. Every time I feel a little closer to being myself and happy again. She does something that pulls me back into an abyss of darkness and hell. The stress will kill me for sure. Update. She didn't harm herself. She just went missing. A few days ago she dropped the twins off at her doorstep. They are now safely with me. They are back into the routine of eating every day consistently, taking showers and having fun in her backyard as kids do. All three of them are really hanging close to each other. Our 4-year-old is smiling again. She loves having her brother and sister here with her. Last night they all begged me to order pizza and watch a movie, so I said yes. Okay, let's do it. This was the happiest I've been in months. Just looking around at my kids laughing and having a good time. I am content right now, but I still have anxiety that she will show up and snatch them away from me. I've been in constant contact with CPS just in case because I have a strong feeling she is coming around soon. She's only called once since dropping them off, telling me that she is with her boyfriend and they are more in love than ever. She says that he has inspired her to get a job and start making her own money so they could get home together, and that she will be back for the twins. So right now she is supporting his dreams and he is supporting hers. Yeah, okay, cool. She also apologized for threatening to harm herself. She said she was just stressed. I'm done with her madness. Just focusing on me and the kids. I am also planning on taking them on a mini vacation at the end of October. Disney World. Her phone bill was due Friday and Verizon sent me a reminder. I did not pay it and I called them to see if I could somehow get out of the contract because not paying eventually will end up on my credit report. So I'll more than likely have to pay money to break the contract. Either way, she's costing me money. I forgot to tell you guys her weed man showed up at our house. I had no idea who this guy was and what he wanted. I saw him on Ring and asked him what was up. He said he needed to talk to my wife. I said she was not my wife and that we were divorcing. I asked, who are you? He said, can I come to the door? It's urgent. And I said no. He told me that my wife had run up a weed tab of close to $2,000 and she had not paid him. He wanted his money. I'm floored in shock. He said that my wife told him I would pay him. I said no, I had nothing to do with it and asked him to leave. So he said, if I see your wife it's going to be a problem. Immediately I called her and she sent me to voicemail. So yeah, great, some other bullshit she's brought upon me. I'm thinking of calling the cops to tell them my wife has been giving out our address to strange people who are showing up at my door. Can they do anything? Final update. Last weekend one of the twins got sick and I had to rush her to the ER. They told me she had appendicitis and had to get her appendix removed. I called her mom, who took about 40 minutes to arrive. She came in with her boyfriend. Immediately I got pissed off and told him to leave because I had my 4-year-old and the other twin with me. I didn't need this guy around, so he was acting calm, telling me we needed to go somewhere and just talk man to man. I told him no and that I had nothing to say to him. The entire time my soon-to-be ex-wife was telling me to stop. She didn't even rush to the back to check on our daughter. She just stood there and tried to console him as I was telling him to piss off. I could tell my kids were getting upset, so I went to another part of the hospital and left them standing there holding on to each other. The doctors told me my daughter's surgery will be an emergency surgery that morning, and her mom heard that. Well, guess what she asked? Just how long would it be, because her new stud had to go to work and she was his ride. I told her to just go leave. Just go take him to work. At that point I'd been there for a little over 2 hours myself, and that whole line at home my daughter, who was 13, cried in stomach pain. So my wife said, yeah, I'll be back before she goes back into surgery. I'll just drop him off at work. Well, that was last week and we haven't seen her since. She never came back to the hospital. She did call yesterday to ask how it went and if she could come to get some food. I told her if she showed up I'd call the cops. I've also asked her to surrender the vehicle she's in that I pay for and is in my name, or I would get the cops involved. I'm beyond over her and so disgusted with her. When I made that original post, yeah, I had a little hope she would come back to me. Now I have nothing at all for her. She even told me on the phone I sounded harsher and harsher with her. I'm trying to get full custody of these kids. Yeah, they're my stepkids, but I will not under any circumstances let them go back with her. She will have to call the police on me first. I can tell the kids are conflicted. They love her, of course, and they want the old her back, but she is gone. They are hurting waiting for her to show up, but she is gone. Gone in love, gone in drugs. It's the truth. I've accepted the situation for what it is. I have a divorce lawyer. She said she would never sign the papers because she didn't want a divorce. She wanted me to understand that she was just going through a life crisis and to accept it. I don't care. She can do what she wants, but she can't drag us in the middle of it anymore. The locks were changed on Monday. She has no place here. No home to come to. The car will be out of her possession soon, as well as when I pay off her phone bill. I finally realized and came to grips with the fact that the reason she was able to continue to hurt us was that I was still waiting and wishing for that old person that I fell in love with to show up. But the old person didn't just leave. This is who she was all along, and by enabling her and allowing her access to me and her kids freely, everyone was damaged. She has to be cut off completely. This is scary because she can take her kids anytime, because legally I never adopted them. I am ready to fight the good fight when it comes down to it. My wife has a younger sister with whom she was very close. They would talk every day when my wife was living at home and her old self. Her sister called me crying. She has not spoken to her, and will not answer any of her calls. When my wife first left me, she was talking to her sister. Then she also blocked her sister on social media. My wife's mom said my wife was on drugs and that all they could do was pray for her. Apparently she and the mechanic have been seen around town begging for money and food. They are staying in a raggedy motel across town, and when they can't afford that, they just sleep in the car together. Oh, and she told me she pawned her wedding rings. Yet both rings I got her. Gone. Straight up told me to my face. The great news is my wife's family doesn't really want to take care of the twins because they have a lot going on in their own lives, so nobody is fighting me to take them. My wife agreed some weeks ago the twins will be with me until she finds a stable home. She told me she might even go into a homeless program and she will be back for them then. I am filing for emergency custody next week. Wow, OP, please speak to your stepkids privately and make sure neither of them was abused by the guy or his junkie friends. Guys like this mechanic are taking advantage of vulnerable people regardless of age, especially when there are drugs involved. Be perfectly clear you're there to protect and support them, and you want to make sure they know they have someone in their corner. Tell them they don't have to call you dad, but to you they're your kids and you'd do anything for their well-being. Stepkids need to hear that. You've completely expressed it, but sometimes the words matter too. I'm sorry you're all going through this. Those kids are very lucky to have a father like you. At least you still have a family in the kids, and they'll always appreciate what their father sacrificed for them. I do some documenting regarding the kids. How long you've been providing for them, what you've been providing in the way of health insurance or other official documentation, that you own the home they're registered at school with, stuff like that. That way when you look towards adopting them or even just trying to them instead of giving them to social services, you'll have proof of history and care. Good luck, OP. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed the story, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also comment below with your thoughts on what happened. For months after my wife and I celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary, there was a fire in our apartment complex. I was at work when it started, and apparently my wife was sleeping until it became an emergency situation for her. She told me the smoke was fogging up the apartment really badly by the time she woke up. She was conscious for a few minutes, attempting to breathe in fresh air from the vents or by cracking a window. The next thing she remembers is a firefighter carrying her to safety. As she was being treated by the ambulance, he stayed by her side, taking off his helmet and staring into her eyes as he spoke to her. She was a beautiful woman, so it didn't surprise me that she received extra attention from the man that saved her. The part one did have a problem with was that their contact continued after this day. While she was in the hospital, the firefighter gave her his phone number. We'll call him Edward for this recount of events. Before she was even discharged, she got WhatsApp on her phone and started texting him with updates about her health, or even what she was up to each day. By reading the messages, you could tell he was smitten. She never mentioned being married, and I'm disappointed to say that it was only a matter of days before she started referring to him as her savior, expressing that she trusted him to protect her and sending him nudes. While I was at work, she invited him over to where we were staying while the apartment building was repaired. We were staying with a traditional Catholic couple that would not support her affair, so she took care to plan his visits when no one would be home for hours. My wife didn't return to work after the fire because she had trouble breathing for a while after the accident. It was the perfect storm to end my marriage. I know my wife only developed feelings for Edward because he saved her from that fire. It was a near-death experience, and people can change after those. On the day she was caught, I returned from work to find a shocking scene unfolding. The Catholic couple had just returned home from work to discover my wife and Edward making love on their living room couch. Talk about embarrassing and traumatizing for everyone involved. I started to shake as I approached all four of them arguing on the front lawn. The Catholic wife was yelling at Edward within inches from his face, asking if he had any morals at all, or if he had any idea what was going on. He mostly shook his head, just wanting to get out of there. He quietly admitted he had no idea she was married, and was under the impression that he was welcome to stop by for visits with her. I told him to leave, knowing my wife would have to be the one to explain herself. That's when the four of us sat in the living room to talk and my wife broke down. She admitted she had feelings for him and chose to start the affair. I started bawling, of course. I didn't see any of this happening to us, especially not after our happy 10-year anniversary celebration. I told her she would have to choose between me or Edward. She said she couldn't choose. That was the last straw for me, so I chose for her. The next morning I grabbed her phone while she was sleeping and went out. I was able to read through all the incriminating WhatsApp messages with the lawyer. Through this we discovered that their emotional affair became physical as soon as my wife was discharged from the hospital. That was about 3.5 months that I was unknowingly sharing my wife, so I talked everything over with my lawyer, and proceeded to kick her out for the time being while I got ready for the divorce. She then moved in with Edward. During that time she was outcast from the community we grew to be a part of over the past 10 years. It didn't seem to matter to her, and she became pregnant with their baby in just 3 months. After 9 months of them being together, he dumped her. Rumors I heard were that the baby wasn't his, and she had cheated on him with someone else. While 6 months pregnant, she searched for a place to stay or live, but to no avail. Eventually she swallowed her pride and asked me to take her back. That notion made me laugh out loud. After I denied her, she had no choice but to stay in a shelter for women. I sold our apartment for more than expected and got used to the new single life. All of this was really hard to go through, but I do want people to know that life carries on anyway. I think the biggest lesson for me in all of this is to never take anything for granted, but also to never expect or demand anything. I go through life longing for nothing but greatly receiving what's given to me. Sometimes my ex still reaches out to me and I'll respond to her, but it's mostly out of pity. She updates me on her situation periodically, and each time it seems like our qualities of life get farther and farther apart. I know she'll never reach the level of maturity I've had to reach after handling the emotional pain she dealt me. Wow. That was quite a twisted and emotionally draining experience. I am sorry you lost someone you love to an unexpected situation and intruder. In life experiences like this, it's as if our character and what we're made of are tested. She showed you that 10 years of faithful marriage didn't mean as much to her as he did. This obviously proved to be a really stupid decision on her part, but even if he didn't leave her as fast as he did, it still would have been foolish for her to pick a stranger over her husband. Congratulations on handling yourself in the wisest way through a very difficult and life-altering situation. I wish you nothing but the best of luck going forward in life. Now for today's second story. I am sorry for the length. First, some background. My wife and I are both 30 with no kids and come from a large family. Both her parents have 6 to 8 siblings. From this, she has many cousins and second cousins. The families have known each other for generations, so are close. The wife is very close to 7 or 8 women. In the last few years there have been many marriages, including our own, and baby showers, some of which have legendary status. I will explain below. All these gatherings are huge productions and well attended. Last weekend was a Christmas gathering. The family rented out a venue to fit everyone. This gathering was her mother's side of the family. Eventually, after going around greeting everyone, the close cousins settle in with each other and their SOs. The conversation came around to a bridal shower that happened last summer. Because the family is so big, they had 2 showers. One was hosted by the older parents, aunts and grandma. The other is hosted for the younger relatives. The cousins started reliving the shower with much laughter. The SOs were just sitting there smiling as we watched them, enjoying the moment. One of the cousins started to start a story pointing at another, but was hushed. There was an awkward moment with these looks between each other. Now the SOs are curious, me included. We wanted to hear the story, but the subject was changed and any attempt to bring it up was shut down. I walked away to get some dessert and drinks. As I was hanging out by the bar, another of the SOs came up to me. He asked if I really wanted to know what happened. Of course I said yes. He took me outside. He pulled out his phone and swore me to secrecy. He had snooped on his wife's phone and found a short video of the shower. The young cousins and friends, about 20 to 25 people, shower had included strippers. Think dancing bear type. The video shows the guys dancing naked with the women laughing and screaming. The video shows the stripper going down the line in front of each woman seating on a bench along a wall. The video is shot from the end of the line. In profile is my wife. She is third in line. Just as the stripper moved to the next woman, there was a large roar, and the video scanned across the room to the other stripper. Then you hear, "Turn that off, no videos." The video ends. At the time I asked the wife about the shower. She said it was fun, but it was just a shower. She never went into detail. I dropped it at that time. Now with this news months later, I am not sure how to handle it. I can't tell her I saw the video without revealing how I saw it. Update. Here is an update to my post the other day. I asked my wife what went on at the shower. She at first said it was just a shower. I told her I know more than just a shower took place. She looked at me for it seemed like an hour. She took a deep breath and then told me they had strippers. She actually seemed embarrassed. I asked how all that came about. She tells me that at previous showers some of the games they played and conversations had increasingly become more raunchy. The older women did not like it and tried to shut it down. The younger relatives decided they would hold their own showers and the older relatives could have their more traditional showers. After that, the raunchiness got turned up a notch. Finally, a couple of years ago, in a shower, a stripper was brought in. It was the typical dancer that did his act to the screams of the crowd. Then he left. Nothing happened with the crowd. It embarrassed the bride. The cousins and friends were really divided about it. When the ringleader got engaged, there was some payback. The strippers were hired knowing the type of show they put on and the participation it would generate. It did the trick, as the bride-to-be hid in another room during the performance. I asked what kind of participation was there. She said the guys danced really close to some of the women, pulling some up to dance with them. I told her that I didn't have a problem with strippers at the shower, then asked why she didn't tell me unless there was something more to it. She then got quiet. I let the silence hang in the air. She was waiting me out, I think. I then said I saw a video of the strippers. I asked if there was anything else. Again, silence. Then she said some of the girls got carried away. I asked her to go on. After hesitating, she admitted to what was on the video. After more silence, I told her I saw her. At this point, she started crying and said, "I swear I didn't do anything. You have to believe me. Ask my sister." As she cried more and more, I told her I saw her sitting along the wall as the stripper worked his way down the line. She said, "Then you know my sister," and I got up off the bench and got away from him. I told her the video didn't show that and that it cut away. I asked if her sister would confirm what she said. She said to call her. I video called her sister from the wife's phone. She was in shock when I told her why I was calling. The sister verified what the wife had said, so I am believing what happened. I did tell the sister to tell her husband because this is going to get out. Now I am dealing with my wife, who is mad that I assumed she cheated, but at the same time ashamed she never told me. We have some work to do. Her silence speaks volumes here. She was actively hiding what happened because she knew it was wrong. There is a serious lack of honesty from her here. And while it appears she didn't do anything inappropriate, you had to pry the information from her in an escalating fashion. I'm sorry to tell you this, but this marriage is over. There's nothing left to work on. The damage has already been done. I truly hope for your sake that her sister is telling the truth on what happened and isn't trying to cover up for her in any way. Anyways, please keep us posted on what happens. I'm curious to hear about the aftermath of this. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel if you aren't already, so you can hear what OP does next. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. Don't forget to like and comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a lovely day or evening. Today's story features some good karma. OP found out his wife cheated on him with her affair partner, then divorced him and gave up custody of her kids, all for the sake of being with the affair partner. Now she's begging for mercy after her affair partner kicked her out and she's homeless. In today's second story, OP heard his fiancée say on the phone that her ex was the best lover she's ever had in her life. Now let's get into today's stories to find out what happened. My wife and I met back in college. We dated for 5 years before getting married. Our marriage has been good with little ups and downs. We have 2 girls ages 13 and 15. January last year, I noticed my wife spending more time on her phone than usual. She basically did what every typical cheater does: lied, blame shifted, and gaslight me when I tried to express my concerns. I know I was not perfect and I did some things that I regret very much, but she treated me like a piece of shit all this time during her affair. I tried to improve all the aspects of our relationship that she felt were not good. When Discovery Day came at the beginning of June, she confessed to having an emotional affair and sleeping with him twice. Then she blamed me for her affair. She said that she wanted to reconcile and we tried reconciliation, but she was just not into it. She still contacted him and they were still talking. When I told her how uncomfortable it made me, she said they were just friends and kept deleting texts, even when I told her not to. When I threatened divorce, she would cry, apologize, and beg me not to. When I tried to bring up the affair, she would get mad and somehow I was the one who ended up apologizing. Then after 2 or 3 months she started disappearing again, saying that she was visiting family because they needed her at the time. I knew she was going to see the affair partner, and when I brought it up, she was very convincing. One weekend, she disappeared and didn't pick up my calls or answer my texts, and when she came back, she told me that her cousin had gotten sick, and they had rushed her to the hospital, and forgot her phone at her sister's place. And all this time I was trying to make it work for us. She saw all the efforts I made but just didn't care. Then by mid-December she told me that she was moving out, that she had been unhappy in our relationship, and that while she still cared for me, she was in love with her affair partner. She said that she had finally found her soulmate. I remember crying for hours trying to beg her, but her mind was made up. We had to tell the kids. She said that I could have the kids for the weekdays and she could come to visit them on weekends since her affair partner's apartment was small. She filed for divorce a week after. This was the worst moment of my life. I grieved for weeks. I tried to talk to her to see if there was any chance, but all she said was that she was sorry for everything she had put me through, but her mind was made up. No one other than us knew. Both she and my parents knew that we were only separated, but never knew the reason. By the end of January, when her mom called me and insisted I tell the truth, I invited her over together with her dad. I told them everything and literally I broke into tears and cried on my mother-in-law's shoulder. They comforted me and apologized for their daughter's behavior. I later told my parents and then a few close friends. Soon enough, everyone knew about us and I started receiving comforting messages from others talking ill of my ex. Soon afterward, my wife called me crying saying that I turned everyone against her and that she hated me. She said that people were threatening her and her affair partner, and that her dad hated her. They had a close relationship and that her sisters didn't want to speak to her, and no one would speak with her without insulting her. That was mid-April. By the beginning of June, her relationship with her affair partner had fizzled out due to stress. I remember she came to see the kids and told me that her affair partner kicked her out because he couldn't handle the stress of their relationship. She was living in a hotel room. She didn't look good at all, like someone who was depressed. She asked if she could move back in and I said no. She said that she understood but asked to spend more time with the kids. She said that she wanted to make up for the lost time with the kids and wanted to come in the afternoon and cook for them and spend time with them. I agreed. By this time she would come to cook my favorite meal, clean the house, and write small notes saying I love you together with flowers. When I came back home from work, she would always try to spend some more time with me. I have to admit I did enjoy spending time with her. Then she started talking about how much she missed me and asked if a divorce was what I really wanted. I always avoided these conversations. Last week, she told me that she had been going to individual counseling and was wondering whether we should try marriage counseling. She has started dressing the way I like and wearing makeup. She has tried to initiate sex but I've turned her down. She has bought me more goods and countless times she has brought up marriage counseling. Over the weekend she cried, begging me not to go through with the divorce, saying she had already put up with a lot, and that all she wanted was to get me and her family back. She said she would do whatever I wanted. I know it's like the roles are reversed. All this time I have been numb, although a part of me feels happy now that she has gotten a taste of her own medicine. I still love her but I don't really know if I should give our relationship another chance. OP, she's back because you're her only hope right now. How much disrespect is too much? She had an ongoing affair, immediately moved in with him. Only after the relationship failed did she realize she had no one else. Mind you, She has openly told you the relationship ended with the affair partner due to stress, not due to her realizing she made a monumental mistake. Have some respect for yourself and just say no. You deserve better. You can be good co-parents and not be together, but if you get back together, you'll always be looking over your shoulder because you know she can't be trusted. There's just no way that leads to a healthy relationship. You know what would have happened if her mother hadn't contacted you to tell her the truth? Your so-called wife would have gone through with the divorce, and in a couple of weeks she would have introduced her affair partner to her family as if she met him after the divorce, making her image look innocent. Remember, from last January up to mid-December you tried to make it work even after you found out about the affair. You tried to improve yourself for her, but she was still in contact with him. You told her it made you feel uncomfortable, and her reply was, "We are just friends," and deleting text messages. The ultimate disrespect. That was the point where you should have known she wasn't letting him go. Then she disappears on you saying she's visiting her family, or that her cousin is in the hospital, and she left her phone at her sister's knowing she was with her affair partner all that time. December came and she told you she's found her soul mate with her affair partner and is moving in with him. She filed for divorce a week later. Once you told the truth to her family, your family, and some close friends, she calls you crying saying everybody hates her, which she deserves all of it, and threatens her and her affair partner. That was this past April. In June, her soulmate, the affair partner, was done with her and kicked her out because she was more trouble than she was worth. Please wake up, OP. Now let's get into today's second story. It was quite by accident that I heard this. We had a group of our friends over, and as the night went on we all kind of busted out into little groups. Some of us were in one room playing Texas Hold'em, and a couple of others were watching a Lord of the Rings marathon. I thought she was watching the movies, but she and one of her close friends were actually sitting in the kitchen drinking coffee and talking. Our group had run out of soda, so I got up to go to the kitchen to get drinks and couple of snacks. As I was rounding the corner, I heard my fiancé talking, and before I completely came into the room I heard her clearly say, "Jason is great, but he will never be the lover that Bill was." She then followed it up with, "It's not really fair to Jason though, Bill was just really gifted down there." At first I thought about just walking back into the card game and pretending like we didn't have any extra soda or food, but I decided to kind of make a noise and go in. Her friend caught sight of me rounding the corner, and I could see her make a face at my fiancé, letting her know I was there. Of course she had no idea I had heard her, and she just stopped talking to her and asked me how I was doing and if I was having fun. I was tempted to say something like, "I'm having as much fun as someone who is not gifted down there can," but I didn't. I just said yes and proceeded to get my stuff and go back and finish the night. I just acted like nothing was wrong the rest of the night and went to bed. Needless to say, it messed me up. It messed me up badly. I've never been jealous or what you would call insecure about myself until that moment. I couldn't sleep that night, and I went through a myriad of emotions while laying there. At first I was angry, then I was humiliated, then I was depressed, then I was angry again. Look, I realized that the male ego seems stupid to women and even to guys who are totally self-assured. I would have agreed with most of this prior to that night, but once it has been damaged, it's a bitch. I tried to hide any form of emotion about it, so that I would never let her know I knew, but as the days went on I just kept getting worse and worse. I was avoiding her at all costs, and while she was suspicious she didn't really say anything. That is until she attempted to be intimate with me a few days later, and I flat out rejected her. It wasn't a conscious decision on my part, by the way. I had made the decision on my own to just try and get over it and move on, but in that moment, instead of being sexually aroused, I felt deeply inadequate and ashamed. Nothing was happening no matter how much either of us tried. She asked me what was wrong, and I just told her I must have been stressed from work, but she would not believe that or let it go. So much to my humiliation there, I lay naked in bed, unable to get an erection. I came clean and told her what I heard. Well, that did not go over well at all. At first she tried to tell me I did not hear her correctly, but I just repeated to her verbatim what she had told her. Well, once she couldn't deny it, she then tried to apologize, and to her credit, she tried to listen to my feelings on the matter, which once again I am sure was more of a big turnoff for her because I was a wreck emotionally. She tried to tell me how much of a better person I was and how I satisfied her, and she wanted nobody else, but all I could hear was the Charlie Brown teacher noise. It's been almost a month and I have zero desire to be with her sexually, none. She is now getting frustrated about this as well, but no matter what I have tried, I just cannot get past this. It's not like she said we were both good lovers or anything like that. She clearly said he was far superior, and my guess is that being gifted down there, it means he was significantly larger than me as well. Well, I know I can do all kinds of things with my hands, tongue, and whatever else, but no matter what I do, I can't grow in size. Obviously, she refuses to talk about that with me, saying that anything she could say would only make things worse because even if she said something positive about me, I wouldn't believe her. She's most likely right. Some backstory here. He dumped her. It was not a mutual breakup. He flat out dumped her and broke her heart. I know this because early on in our relationship she told me this. She said she wasn't ready to be serious about anybody because her previous ex left her and emotionally broke her. So this is not a case of me even being able to say, well, she's with me because she wants to be. If he hadn't dumped her, she would never have left him. Now I have no idea if after all of these years she would leave me for him if he came back, but I don't think she would. I just don't know what to do here. I can feel myself checking out of the relationship. I know this is petty as crap, but hearing the person you love tell someone else they preferred having sex with someone else was just devastating to me. Her telling me all of my other good qualities has only made it worse because she is saying things that I think appeal to her and maybe other women, but being told I am a good provider and will make a great husband makes me feel like crap. Like, what would happen if I lost my good paying job, or better yet, what if I were to get injured and couldn't make anything more than state assistance? Would she be there to support and help me? Basically, what I feel like right now is a really good friend who is just allowed to have sex with her. I know in my head that this is not correct, but in my heart that is what I feel. I'm sorry for the length here, and I don't even know what I'm asking here. I am totally lost, and if this continues, I just think I'm going to break off our engagement. Update. It all came to a head last night. She just came out and asked me if I did not love her anymore, and all that I could tell her was that a very large part of me still did, but that what she said had really made it so that another part of me just didn't anymore. This started a larger conversation that I won't bore you with, but ultimately it came down to me saying that if I had heard that he was just better at something or more attentive to something or was able to do something that I couldn't, I would have felt like I could have worked on it. I would have listened to anything she wanted to work on, any technique or anything else that she would have shared with me, but to know that I was never going to measure up simply because of a physical issue was not something I thought I could get over anytime soon, if I ever could for that matter. I was even honest and said that if it was just a one-night stand she had or some random guy who was that huge, I might have been able to get past that, but knowing that it was a guy who she was still madly in love with when I met her, and only after time did she start to come around, then it was just more than I could handle. She kept trying to tell me how much better I was at everything else and that I should not throw away a lifetime over one aspect. I told her that one aspect sadly was just too high for me, that not all things are equal, and that honestly it was a mental failing on my part, but whether it was genetics or a learned trait or whatever, that yes, I needed to be my spouse's best, and she had already made it clear that I could never be. I tried my best to be gentle. I tried to take all the blame by stating that I knew that my attitude was probably not healthy, but it was who I am. Now for the final update, it is over. I went to counseling with her on 3 different occasions, and honestly I tried to have an open mind about it, but at the end of the day the obstacle was just too much to overcome. I even gave her an opportunity to walk back on her statement or mend it or well do whatever she wanted to do with it, but instead she doubled down in a way. I think by that time she was very frustrated as well. Neither of us is really happy about this. It has been an absolute nightmare for me trying to avoid telling people and family why we are no longer together. Of course I tried the old "it's none of your business" to some of them, but that failed spectacularly, and since I refused to tell, they decided she cheated on me and started spreading that around. I've had to do a lot of damage control over that. I've decided to continue with therapy on a personal level because honestly this entire thing has really messed with my head and I have no self-esteem left at all. I've only seen her once since we separated, and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. She is now justifiably so in the angry stage. She is furious with me and has called me everything that you can imagine, and then even made up some words. Oh Pete, her being mad at you should really set your mind at ease that breaking up is the right thing for you to do. She's not the person you want to be with long term, and though it sucks now, the only anger she should be feeling is towards herself and for her actions. Now she will have to live with the consequences of her actions for the rest of her life. It would suck worse to have heard this a couple of years down the road after the wedding, when it then became a legal matter on top of everything else. You absolutely dodged a bullet, my friend. I wish you the best of luck going forward. Thanks for taking the time to listen to today's stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, and comment below on what your thoughts are on today's stories. If there's a story you would like to share with me about your own situation or someone else's, then please do not hesitate to contact me.